special meeting has adjourned, and then now we are reconvening the 6 o'clock closed session meeting. Roll call. The record reflect that all members of council are present.
Don't we have to have a public comment, though?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Mr. Mosier.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Gardner and members of the council. My name, again, is Jim Mosier. I wanted to comment on item C on the closed session agenda, which is your evaluation of Aaron Harp, our city attorney. In my view, as I expressed before, I think the fundamental problem is that Mr. Harp has a strong tendency to tell you whatever you want to hear. And I'm not sure that that is in the best interest of the public. I don't know the merit of his comments about the CITYWIDE and conflict of interest issues, but earlier this afternoon I heard him assure Mr. Curry that taking away a right to file class claims is not the taking away of any right at all. To me, that is logically inconsistent. And I heard him tell the Mayor Pro Tem that I am absolutely incorrect in my understanding of what the California Supreme Court had to say about class actions, and I find that a little bit odd since 3 distinguished judges on the appeal court ruled in March that their understanding of that ruling was the same as mine. At your meeting 2 weeks ago, Mayor Pro Tem Curry twice asked Mr. Harp if the current city charter absolutely requires the publication in the newspaper of the city's 200-page comprehensive annual financial report, which looks pretty much the same as this, which happens to be from Costa Mesa rather than Newport Beach. Mr. Harp twice assured Mr. Curry that it did, which is certainly what Mr. Curry wanted to hear. The odd thing about that is that the city attorney's office repeatedly assured the 2012 Charter Update Committee that the 25-line statement we currently publish for a little over $100 in the Daily Pilot is in complete compliance with the charter requirement to publish not a report, but a year-end financial statement. And that the only reason we were changing the charter was to clarify that that was in compliance. Nonetheless, Mr. Curry heard what he wanted to hear and waves us around saying that we have a $18,000 obligation to publish this in the newspaper. I would like to point out to you that the charter requirement is to publish a financial statement, and like ours, this has in it a section that says financial statements. And like ours, this is the financial statement that is in the report. It's 2 pages long. Mr. Curry also says we have an obligation to publish the audit. There is no such requirement in the city charter, but there is an audit in here. And this is the audit here. It's a 2-page letter from an auditor. In short, I think you're hearing what you want to hear, but I don't think you're hearing good advice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I regret, Mr. Mosher, that we seem to be 0 for 2 on city attorneys, in your opinion.
Are there any other public comment on the closed session item? Are you just on the closed session, sir?
Yes. I'd like to congratulate the lady on the end for voting. No?
No, I'm sorry. All right. The special meeting is adjourned. A call to order the regular meeting of October 23rd. Roll call, please. Huh? But, I mean, I'm going to go into closed session. Don't we have to have roll call for the regular meeting? No? Okay. We'll go into closed session now. 23rd. Reconvene the meeting of October 23rd. Roll call.
The record will reflect that all members of council are present.
Closed session report.
There's no closed session report this evening.
All right. If you would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Henn and remain standing for the invocation from Mr. Frank Carpenter.
Please join me in the pledge to the flag of the greatest country in the world. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you join me in an invocation. Lord, we thank you as we gather in this city by the sea for these citizens and these leaders who serve so selflessly. We thank you for the privilege to live and work and play in such beautiful surroundings for our beaches, parks, and bay. We ask your blessing on this meeting for patience and wisdom too. As we interact this evening, may honor all our words imbue. May we be faithful stewards of this place we hold so dear, and may we cherish it and protect it throughout this night and all the year. Amen. Sorry about that.
All right. I have a presentation. As those of you who are fond of the bay know, we have been doing a lot of dredging, and the city saved millions of dollars because we were able to take some of the dredge spoils that we would have had to truck into landfills. We were able to take them to the Port of Long Beach. And the port was so wonderful in helping us and coordinating with us that we wanted to recognize them for it. So I will read the proclamation. Whereas Newport Harbor has not been comprehensively dredged since the 1930s, and several channels have shoaled to the point where dredging has been a necessity for many years, and whereas after extensive sediment testing, certain channels within the lower bay, including the Rhine Channel, were found to be unsuitable for disposal in the open ocean and required an alternate method of disposal that would not be harmful to the environment. And whereas several disposal options were considered, including trucking the 200,000 cubic yards of sediment to an upland landfill, disposing the sediment in an underwater confined aquatic disposal facility, or treating the sediment to remove the contaminants, each option at a cost of more than $10 million. And whereas the Port of Long Beach began construction of its Middle Harbor Fill project and requested applications from third parties for disposal into their confined aquatic fill site, which will forever encapsulate the material in a confined environment. And whereas the City of Newport Beach was selected to participate in the Port of Long Beach's Middle Harbor Fill project throughout 2011 and 2012. And whereas the City of Newport Beach, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, the Port of Long Beach, Anchor UEA, Dutra Dredging Company, and RE State Engineering have coordinated the disposal of this material and have worked very closely with one another to ensure 100% project success. Now, therefore, I, Nancy Gardner, Mayor of the City, on behalf of the entire Newport Beach City Council, do hereby extend our gratitude to Doug Thyssen, Tom Baldwin, and the Long Beach Board of Harbor Commissioners for allowing the City of Newport Beach to participate in the Middle Harbor Fill project, which therefore completely solved the city's long-standing sediment management problem in Newport Harbor. And I know we have Tom Baldwin from the Port of Long Beach here. And Chris, do you want to say a few things before I come down?
Sure. Well, thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. It's with great joy that we're sitting here with Tom Baldwin. He's been instrumental in working with the city for a few years now, and he's been my main contact, and it's been a pleasure working with him. We've gone through many iterations of our project, and we've had to ask for a couple extensions, and he's worked with us, but we're forever grateful for him and the Port of Long Beach for helping us out. So thank you, Tom.
Thank you so much for making the drive tonight.
Actually, while they're getting lined up for a picture, I'm just going to clap.
We do need a round of applause.
Fabulous outcome.
Mr. Thiessen sends his regrets. He would have liked to have been here tonight, and he's on travel right now on port business. And on behalf of the Port of Long Beach, thank you for this proclamation. And I just wanted to say personally thank you to Chris Miller for his efforts in managing the project and getting the dredge material delivered to the port. I think it was a win-win project for both parties involved, and I think it shows our commitment to the environment. And I'm just proud to be part of that, and proud that we were able to work with the Army Corps, CSTF, and other environmental agencies to beneficially reuse this sediment material. So
Well,
thank you.
We thank you very much, and our general fund thanks you as well for saving us all that money.
And could you be sure to let us know when you're going to dig another hole in your harbor? We might be able to help again.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, take care of Linda. Notice to the public.
The city provides a yellow sign-in card to assist in the preparation of the minutes. The completion of the card is not required in order to address the city council. Speakers must limit comments to 5 minutes on agenda items. The city council has the discretion to extend or shorten the time limit on agenda or non-agenda items. As a courtesy, please turn cell phones off or set them in the silent mode. Now is the time for council announcements or matters which council members would like placed on a future agenda for discussion, action, or report.
Councilwoman Daigle?
Yes, several things going on. I serve on the Vector Control as one of the trustees, and they would like to come to a study session and talk a little bit about what they do. And it's been a big year for them because of the warm temperatures over a long period of time. It's created a lift for West Nile virus, so they wanted to come and talk to us about that. They pitched it as their dog and pony show, but they say they have more dogs than ponies. So they will be making their presentation. And then secondly, as I attended the economic forecast that was put on by the Newport Chamber of Commerce, and they had 3 speakers that were each very generous with their time. They spoke for about half an hour each. The moderator did an excellent job. He was with the title sponsor, Comerica Bank, and that was Robert Griffin. And so the first presenter was our Congressman, John Campbell. He gave a very good assessment of the election and depending on who wins, what will happen in our country. And he said there's 3 areas that really need to be settled and aren't currently. The first is the tax code, and he is a CPA. He said the last revision in the code that we're operating under is 1986, and the code before then was in the 1950s. So it's something our country does every 25, 30 years, and we're due. And so he provided some speculation as to how that's going to work, whether it's lowering rates and kind of a basket of deductions, but clearly there's going to be changes according to him. Secondly would be health care. If the Republicans have sufficient majorities, then provisions of Obamacare could be repealed. And then the third area is the energy policy, which he felt like the country needs to have one, a better one. And right now that's really in flux in terms of our sources of energy, and there's also new methods of extraction. You've probably read about or heard about fracking. And that's something that's regulated at a state level with varying levels of skill, of course. But in places such as North Dakota, where that is happening, their unemployment is less than 3%. There's also a presentation by the dean of the UCI Business School, and he attributed the current gridlock in Washington to really the checks and balances that have been in our Constitution since our formation. So he found that to be something that is happening, but he said that since the Depression, monetary policy, there's been some changes. So we do have some power there to make some adjustments. And then the business school dean also noted that the deficit of our country is over $16 trillion. And to put that in sort of terms that at least I could understand, is it's approaching about $50,000 per American citizen. So he indicated if this is something we're going to address, it's going to take a lot of political courage, if not acts of political martyrdom. That was his view of it. And then thirdly is The Memorial Bike Ride has just been a great response from the community. It's Sunday, October 28th at 8 a.m., beginning by Whole Foods in Newport Center. There's more than 500 people that have signed up. I would anticipate a lot of people showing up that didn't register. There's no cost to the ride. And then the council is one of the supporters. We created a fund, the Bicycle Safety Improvement Fund, and we established a 3-to-1 match. So for every $1 that the community raises, we put in $3. And it's been coming in $1 at a time because they're selling bracelets that are priced at $1 and T-shirts, whatever you can contribute type of a thing. So through that effort, they've raised over $46,000, and they've been at it for a few weeks. So I think they've have a good showing in terms of their fundraising there. And then after the ride, it's a very brief ride of 1.2 miles. There will be an unofficial ride that goes to Long Beach. So if you want to do the 55-mile round trip or some portion of it, that will be available as well. I want to thank our recreation staff. They've put in a huge amount of time and effort to make this work well and coordinating with our police department. So thank you, Laura. And then we also have, the ride has just a great number of corporate sponsors. They have Memorial Care Health System, Greater Newport Physicians, Smart and Final, Surf City Cyclery, and then we have also a number of other sponsors, from individuals that have helped provide the T-shirts to the silk screening, to the Irvine Company, to Starbucks, to Whole Foods, to Think Thin Bars. So it's really a wonderful community effort, and I want to thank everybody here for their support too. So thank you.
Date again?
It's this Sunday, October 28th at 8 a.m.
Thank you. Councilman Henn.
Two quick things. I did have the pleasure of attending, at least in the afternoon, the Balboa Theater Beach Fest on Saturday, October the 13th. And although I don't know that the attendance was quite as high as they might have hoped, it was a very nice event. I know I saw our city attorney there and our city manager, and I was particularly impressed with the venue. I thought it actually worked quite well in that location to do that kind of thing. So I'm hoping that there will be a strategy that will allow for that to continue in the future. And then I had an even more fun time, actually, touring our new City Hall Civic Center site last Wednesday, courtesy of Steve Batum. And I'll tell you, it was just great. I really, really liked it. That is going to be such a great facility for this city to be proud of. It's just amazing. The views and the architecture and the function of that building will be fabulous, and that's not to mention 10 or 11 acres of parks and library expansion and the additional parking for the library and all the other things that go with that project that make it so much more than a city hall. It's a real civic center complex that we'll be able to be proud of for the ages. Thank you.
Councilman Selich.
Thank you. Well, Councilman Henn, following up on your comments, I was at a presentation last night by the Civic Center architect, Peter Bolin, and was speaking to the project architects, and they have confirmed that we will be having our December the 11th council meeting in the new city council chambers, and everything will be working. We won't be sitting on milk crates or using little cards to vote. All the mics will work. They promised everything's going to be working, and I think the schedule now is to move in early February, maybe mid-February, somewhere in that time frame where we do the total move up there. But the first council meeting will be there December the 11th. And I'd like to invite everybody to come down to Balboa Island for the third annual Monster Bash. This is sponsored by the Marine Avenue Bid and the merchants on Marine Avenue. It's from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock this Thursday. The second block between Balboa and Park Avenue will be closed off. There'll be a costume contest for the kids and adults, I suppose, and live music. It's a lot of fun. If you want to see what it's like, you can go onto YouTube and type in Monster Bash Balboa Island 2011 and see what happened last year. But come on down. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be taking my granddaughter down there, and I think you'll really have a good time.
Councilman Hill?
No reports.
Councilman Rosansky?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
No items.
Well, I have one. We had our paddle. Couldn't have asked for better weather. No wind, still bay water, so we had a great time. But my final activity as mayor will be Saturday, November 17th. We're going to walk around Santa Ana Heights an area. We'll meet at the Santa Ana Heights fire station. Hopefully, I haven't contacted yet, but I'm hoping they'll let us peek in at the winery there. We'll look at some of the areas that we've had council discussions on, and touch down to the Back Bay and some of those areas. So I hope you'll come out. That's November 17th at 9 a.m.
Are equestrians welcome?
Yeah, equestrians,
I thought
of
you'd be on a
course.
horse.
We're walking, but the equestrians can come along. November 17th. Right. All right, consent calendar.
All matters listed under consent calendar, items 1 through 12, are considered to be routine and will all be enacted by one motion in the form listed below. Council members have received detailed staff reports on each of the items recommending an action. There will be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the City Council votes on the motion unless members of the City Council, staff, or the public request specific items to be discussed and or removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Members of the public who wish to discuss a consent calendar item should come forward to the lectern upon invitation by the mayor and state their name and item number. If the optional sign-in card has been completed, it should be placed in the box provided at the podium.
Councilman Hill?
I believe I had some minor amendments to the minutes. Did you receive them?
Yes, for the September 25th minutes, however. And I have a question regarding, you might have to bring that up for motion for reconsideration because it is the September 25th meeting.
Councilman Rosansky?
Nothing, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry?
No items?
Councilwoman Daigle?
None.
Councilman Henn?
And none for me.
Councilman Selich?
No items?
I have none. Staff? All right. Is it anyone from the public have an item they would wish to remove?
Mayor Gardner, my name is Jim Mosher. I would like to speak on item 1, 3, 8, and 10.
All right, might as well start speaking on one right now. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dick. Didn't see you.
Item 15.
All right, any others removed? Oh, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dick, that's not a consent calendar item.
You
That's
want a
right.
motion on the rest of them?
Yes. All right.
I would move the adoption of the consent calendar with the exception of items 1, 3, 8, 10.
Second?
Please vote.
The motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Mosher.
Yeah, item 1 is your approval of the draft minutes from October 9th. And I don't quite know the proper protocol about this. I may be speaking on the same item that Councilman Hill just mentioned, but you don't normally invite comment on reconsideration of items, so this seemed the least disruptive time to mention this. For about 2 years, I have been quietly supplying corrections to the council's minutes. The city clerk usually quietly changes those. I think you see some of those corrections. I'm not sure if you see them all. And what I am asking you is to reconsider a recommendation which is in the current minutes on page 615, which she has made some corrections to, I might point out. And this is the motion at the bottom of page 615, in which I suggested the minutes from the meeting before on page 609 are out of sequence. They're just mixed up, and my suggestion to the clerk was apparently not quite clear enough that they understood it. So there are items discussed before the vote happens on them. After the vote happens on them, they're just all out of whack. And a motion was made by the Mayor Pro Tem to approve the minutes without those corrections. I really can see no good reason why you would want the official minutes of the September 25th meeting to be permanently kept in the archives in that scrambled order. Some might view this as nothing more than spite against the person who happened to make the comments, and the problem with establishing a record of making decisions for reasons like that is the public will assume at least some of your other decisions are motivated by the same kind of thinking. So when they look, for example, at something like Measure EE, they will wonder how many of those changes were really being made for good governance and how many because you didn't like the person. Thank you.
Thank you. Because he was referring to earlier minutes, that would not be something we would address now. Yeah, okay, all right, thank you. So, I have
Move approval of the item.
Second.
please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 3.
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name is Jim Mosher. This item is the adoption of an ordinance amending our contract with the California Public Employees Retirement System, providing a second tier of benefits. I have several comments about this. I don't want to diffuse the main comment, which is at the end, but I have to point out first, I don't think that you can properly adopt this ordinance tonight. The reason being not Measure EE, but Measure V that we adopted 2 years ago. And at your request, not mine, the requirements for adopting ordinances were changed in 2010. We discarded what we had in the city charter and said we were going to follow Government Code 36933. This was supposed to be in the interest of efficiency and saving money, according to our former city attorney, David Hunt. But in fact, Section 36933 has considerably more requirements in it than our old requirement in the city charter. One of those is that a certified copy of the full text of the ordinance has to be posted in the city clerk's office 5 days in advance of your adoption of the ordinance. This particular ordinance was not only the cover page, not the full text, which includes by reference the exhibit, which is our new contract with PERS. There was no certified copy of this. On Friday, and I should say the city clerk's office, I'm not trying to cast any aspersions on them, they work very hard trying to follow Section 36933, but there was an inadvertent slip-up, so it may seem a petty matter, but we didn't follow the proper procedure. So technically, it would be improper to adopt this tonight. Second, and I don't know whether they were, what happened to them or not, I submitted written comments. There's many errors in this contract, including, if you try to understand what it's talking about, the second tiers that we have on pages, I guess the pages are not numbered here, paragraphs 6 and 9, dates are wrong, words are wrong, etc. I don't know if those changes are being made or exactly what you're adopting, because we didn't have a certified copy of this to look at. The most important point I wanted to make, well, actually 2 points. One, in looking at this, I now see we're adopting a second tier, but in looking at that garbled section with the dates, paragraphs 6 and 7, I see apparently either in 1977 or 2007, we had no problem increasing the benefits that were available to our employees. So I'm not sure why we don't at this time have the option of rolling back the benefits. That's comment 1. And comment 2, as I pointed out to you at your previous meeting where you were introducing this, paragraph 5 exempts from membership in the PERS system police cadets and reserve officers. And I think it's a pertinent question to ask if you feel that you yourself as council members are employees of the city, why you would not be at least debating whether you should be included here in this exemption. I know that there's a claim that you have to provide retirement benefits to yourselves, but there are other options. For instance, you could be in the Social Security system. Maybe that would cost the city less than being in the PERS system. And this is just here. You do all your labor negotiations in closed doors. We don't quite know where this is coming from or why. And I certainly think there should be discussion of why the council is not included here. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment on this item? Mr. City Attorney?
Yeah, just briefly, you can go ahead and adopt this tonight. Government Code 369338 provides two different methods for basically complying with the noticing procedures. One's to post it in the city clerk's office, and the other one's to basically publish it in the newspaper. In this instance, there's actually a very specific provision regarding amending this type of contract that actually does require you to put it into the newspaper. So as long as we publish it within 15 days of passage in the newspaper, that fully complies with the law.
And as for the apparent errors?
We'll double check. We did get his comments in late today. Those would be basically Scrivener's errors, so if there are any errors, we'll fix those.
Move the item. Second?
Second.
Please vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the title for ordinance number 2012-22, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach authorizing an amendment to the contract between the Board of Administration of the California Public Employees Retirement System and the City Council of the City of Newport Beach. The motion carries unanimously.
Okay. Item number 8.
Thank you again, Mayor Gardner and members of the City Council. This is a contract, approval of a contract amendment.
You want to give your name, please?
My name is Jim Mosher. This is a approval of a contract agreement with a company called Global Power Group for doing preventive maintenance on power generators that the city owns. And again, I wonder if anybody actually looks at or reviews this stuff before you approve it, or you just figure it'll be fixed up later. But the provision I want to point out to you is the exemption here from prevailing wages, which is found on the first page of the amendment. And if you look carefully at the first page of the amendment, I have some difficulty telling you which paragraph it is, because it has paragraph A, B, B, A, and B again. So it's the second of the three Bs is what I'm talking about. And this says that pursuant to the authority conferred on the city by the California Constitution, the city hereby exempts the project from the payment of prevailing wages. There's a problem with this. As you know, there was recently a famous now lawsuit of contractors suing the city of Vista. The city of Vista prevailed in the lawsuit, but the actual court ruling said that the state's prevailing wage law does not exempt charter cities from the labor code. The attitude here seems to be that being a charter city means we can ignore state laws. Being a charter city means we have the right, when it has to do with municipal affairs, to have our own laws. We can't just ignore the state's laws, and that is what we're doing here. And this is certainly not a law or a regulation. It's just in the recital section of the contract. So I do not think that this is sufficient to overcome the state law, which would require payment of prevailing wages. If you want to pursue that in a legislative way, you're welcome to do that, but I don't think this is the proper avenue. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other public comment on this item? City Attorney.
Yeah, just briefly, Mr. Mosher is citing one of many cases that have addressed the issue of prevailing wages. In the City of Vista case that he keeps bringing to the council, they did analyze an ordinance in that case, but the courts have analyzed other situations where there wasn't an ordinance or resolution. The main issue is the city basically asserting its right to not pay prevailing wage because they consider an item of municipal affair. But given the recent case law that's come out from the Court of Appeals and from the California Supreme Court, we think it's best to go ahead and make a specific finding to that effect and assert that you are basically taking advantage of the ability to not pay prevailing wages when contracts are paid for with all local funds.
Thank you. Bring it back.
Move the item.
Second.
Please vote.
I actually had a question about it.
Yes.
When I was reading the staff report, we have 28 generators, and we're hiring a contractor to maintain them. My question is, living with 28 generators, we obviously have resources in place in the event of emergency to turn them on and turn them off and to refuel them, because that's not this contract.
That's right. The resources in some cases are our staff. Remember, we have 20 different pump stations throughout town, Some have generators with them, some would require a generator to be hauled to them, so this is certainly not something that the staff would not be involved in when an emergency occurs and when they're needed.
Okay, but all those plans are in place?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Item number 10.
Thank you, Mayor Gardner and members of the council. My name is Jim Mosier. This item is a much larger contract. It's the same comment as on the previous one. It's a much larger contract for approval of landscape maintenance throughout the city, medians and roadsides. And this time the recitals are numbered in a logical sequence. So again, at this time it's paragraph C, which is identical to what it was in the other one. But what makes this especially problematic, unlike in the city of Vista, who was able to exempt themselves through a charter provision and an ordinance, the case there had to do with the building. It was a municipal affair because they were building civic buildings for the use of the citizens of Vista. And the state labor code specifically calls out street, sewer, and related improvements as a matter that is under the jurisdiction of the state prevailing law, whether the entity, the agency, in this case the city of Newport Beach, operates under a freeholder's charter or not. So that makes it especially problematic whether we can exempt ourselves from prevailing wages in this particular situation, because the maintenance of streets doesn't seem to be entirely a municipal affair. People from outside Newport Beach use these streets. And beyond that, it is a very large contract, over $1 million, and I think we're leaving the city vulnerable to litigation if somebody was unhappy with that requirement in it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll bring it back to, is there any public comment on this item?
Dan Purcell, Corona Del Mar. I am commenting on the same item. Approval of landscape maintenance agreement for citywide medians and roadsides. Says there to trim and edge as necessary to restrict growth from encroaching on sidewalks. That is not happening in the city of Newport Beach. We have sidewalks that are overrun with especially hedges, trees, all kinds of plants, a lot of thorny plants, things that can poke people in the eye, brush up against your leg, scar your leg, and what have you. So this is a 5-year agreement. This is the sort of agreement that would be nice to have come before, say, the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission before coming to the council, especially when you have a 5-year contract on it. I understand that Brian Chinnery will be our main contact on this, and I'll be contacting him and see what he intends to do. Says all work should be performed in accordance to the highest industry standards, so I would ask the residents of Newport Beach, when they look at our sidewalks and the plants, and are these up to the highest industry standards? Secondly, this would have been an opportunity to require the group that's handling all this to use vacuums instead of blowers. We could have required that and have them vacuum everything up. That's the way to go. Using those blowers, it's gas, electric, it doesn't matter. Blowing all that stuff in the air, blowing it onto other people's property, it's not good. They should vacuum it, bag it, and carry it away. Thank you.
Any other public comment? I just clarify, this is for medians, not parkways, right?
Medians and parkways.
And parkways.
Yeah, and parks.
Okay, because I didn't think we did do parkways. I thought
It
like
depends on where you are in town.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Move the item.
Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, that was it, right? Now it's time for public comments.
Public comments are invited on non-agenda items generally considered to be within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. Speakers must limit comments to 3 minutes. Before speaking, please state your name for the record.
Is there anyone that would like to make a public comment?
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name is Jim Mosier. I would like to remind you that it's only 2 weeks from today until it's election day, and I would like to encourage you to vote no on Measure EE. The reason for doing that is pretty simple. If one imagines that one put before the voters, say, a vote on red light cameras and a vote on council compensation, or a vote on red light cameras and a vote on conflicts of interest, In no other city would those two votes be combined together. The people would be outraged if they were asked to vote on those two things together. Adding 36 other things to that does not make it any better. The Orange County Register noticed that problem more than a month ago and editorialized against it. And although those of us who signed the argument against Measure EE have been characterized as rather misguided radical activists, I would like to announce tonight, and I think Novelle Hendrickson is going to speak on this also, as reputable an organization of the League of Women Voters has recognized that same problem, and I think she's going to read to you what they have to say about it. Thank you.
Other public comment, please?
Hello. My name is Novelle Hendrickson, and this is from the League of Women Voters. The League of Women Voters support the principle that the function of government should be open and transparent. We also call for full public discussion of the issue on the ballot and accessible and understandable information made available to the voter. Neither of these principles has been honored by the Newport Beach City Council's placement of the Measure EE on the November 6th ballot. Newport Beach voters are being asked to approve 38 unrelated changes in the current city charter with only one single yes or no vote. The wide variety of the changes are not adequately described or explained in a very minimal wording in the ballot. Allowing only one single vote on such a broad spectrum of items effectively disenfranchise the voters from adequately exercising their rights. For these reasons, the League of Women Voters recommend a no vote on the Newport Beach Measure EE. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there other public comment?
Good evening. How are you doing, Mayor Gardner? Nice to see you, council men and women. Wanted to thank you for letting me be able to come back over here and just remind everybody we are talking about Bowling Month.
Your name?
Oh, that would help. Sorry. Kimberly Mims, P.O. Box 1642, Newport Beach, California, 92659. We the people in our community have set up a website under YouTube. It's under Bowling Warrior, BULLYINGWARRIOR. It's the story that has been quiet in our districts, Costa Mesa Unified School Districts, as well as Newport Beach. I am speaking for a lot of people that do have a voice, and we do not need to be afraid. I've actually even talked to council members recently at one of our local meetings, and they were bullied recently. And nobody needs to disrespect one another. And if somebody is seeing somebody being disrespectful, I would hope that other people would step in. Again, I wanted to thank Mayor Henn previously that you met with me concerning my issue when I had reported my daughter's 5th grade teacher over at Newport Heights Elementary, never imagining when she had brought her toddler in, and I told the principal at the time confidentially that it would end up to where we are today. My whole story unfolds when I came and I spoke at the board member meeting. I was told by Department of Education to go, that they would help me. It became more unsafe for my daughter to have a safe education, an equal education. The teacher went after my daughter with a vengeance. And there are many community members still concerned at the school. There apparently was a teacher that was moved at the school that had hit a child at another school, and they are at Newport Heights right now. We have members over at the Corona Del Mar High School. There's drinking on the job from a teacher right now. I'm hoping that the police department will take this seriously, look into this. We also have deodorant cans that have drugs that are at the school, told to me by other students. And we have teachers that we've lost in the district because they were bullied out politically. And they're no longer teachers because one of them reported drinking on the job with other staff at Kellybrook in 2007. When I came forward trusting the board, thinking they were going to help me, they backed each other, it appeared. There was numerous evidence that was ignored that I did email you, and I apologize. I think something happened to it. But we all, as neighbors, as mayors, council people, strangers, we all need to take a special interest on children getting destroyed in our district, like Haley Ketchum did about 3 years ago when she was threatened to be raped and murdered by 3 athletes. And I will wrap up, but I would like for you to look at the story. I will be re-emailing the emails. Each one of us need to take it seriously to help others and make a difference in our community and take a stand and not cover up. Thank you so much.
Other public comment?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. I'm Ron Hendrickson, and I wanted to make a few remarks in support of the vote no on Measure EE. And what I'd like to touch upon are some of those items in the charter amendments which I believe reduce public input, or the opportunity for public input. One is, for example, in Section 407, referring to regular meetings, and your meetings are being cut down from, would be, if Measure EE is approved, from the 24 meetings that you now have to 22, since excuse me, you'd be meeting one time in August and one time in December. And I think that the problem that I have with that is there are times, in my experience in this town, that there, in August or in December, there have been many occasions where, for whatever reason, business has come up, and it's been important to have the 2 meetings. So I have a problem with that. Section 408 is special meetings, and that will allow, according to your other provisions here, that ordinances could be approved at special meetings as opposed to being approved at regular meetings, which I think is a diminution of the process, in that with special meetings they can be held, and they can be called on 24 hours notice, and they can be held anywhere outside the City Hall and have to comply with the Brown Act. But the notice on those meetings is very limited, and the public in general, who likes to rely on regular meetings when they think ordinances are going to be passed, will find that if, in fact, they're being done at special meetings, they will possibly miss out on the ability to comment on particular ordinances. Place of meetings, Section 409. Interestingly, locations will be allowed by the Brown Act, but deleted from that paragraph is shall be open to the public. Don't understand that? Why? I don't think, I would suspicion that the Brown Act would probably override that, but I don't understand why we would make that kind of a comment in our charter changes here. Section 412 is adoption of ordinances and resolutions, and the current charter requires ordinances to be adopted at regular meetings. I think I've just already covered that. So we'll move on to Section 704. Boards and commissions, and this charter change would allow these commissions and boards to meet at any frequency they would desire. Thank you very much, and be sure and vote no on Measure EE.
Thank you. Other public comment?
Thank you, Robert Hawkins. Once again, no on EE. We have been talking for probably the last 3 meetings about class action lawsuits. I indicated that they were that a ban on class action lawsuit would be preempted by any regulation that this city would pass or would be unconstitutional. Mr. Harp, although Mr. Harp has said I've been confused, Mr. Harp is a city attorney, and so on and so forth, has never rebutted that claim. So I guess that stands. Now, interestingly, a former city attorney indicated that two individual claims, a claim against the city of Mammoth Lakes and a claim again in Half Moon Bay, and these were not class claims, these were individual claims, those claims would be protected under this ban. Well, Mr. Kiff at the Corona Del Mar Residents Association said, no, individual claims aren't affected by this. So there's some confusion here about exactly what is being banned. Secondly, with respect to the financial, I'm in Article 11 now. We have deleted all other demands against the city must be, now this is deleted. These are claims that this was a former charter provision. All other demands and claims must be in writing. And all of this has been deleted. It's unclear why we would require those claims to be not in writing. And then finally, the publication requirement. All the charter said was a copy of the financial statement. Financial statement is undefined. It is that quarter paragraph that costs $114. Then finally, it was my disappointment this past Saturday, it was or maybe it was a week ago Saturday, to read in the Daily Pilot about Mr. Harp's recognition, correct recognition, that the charter is the city's constitution, because it is. Now, the Constitution is the framework of laws that governs the city. Then later in the article he said, well, but if these are murky areas, and if we don't follow the charter, well, then someone can sue us. Well, I think we deserve better than that. I think we deserve a city attorney who will follow the law. I think we deserve a city council who will follow the law and make every effort to follow our charter, which governs our municipal affairs. I believe that Mr. Harp undercut the impartiality of his analysis of Measure EE, and I think every response to comments from those who wrote in support of Measure E, all these back and forth between, for instance, Mr. Curry and Mr. Harp, I think that also undercuts the impartial analysis of Measure EE. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there other public comment? Seeing none, it's now time for oral reports from City Council on committee activities. Councilwoman Daigle.
Airport Land Use Commission, the council, we're going to have an issue to resolve. And the project that went before the commission is Uptown, and it's residential with some retail use up by the Connexton Towers. And the applicant is the city of Newport Beach. That's how it works with the commission. And the decision before the council, the commission, was to determine consistency with the airport land use environs plan. The tilt of the commission, and in every committee or commission or board I've ever been on, there's always a certain tilt, and I think with this commission it's really very much towards aviation. You know, some of the members fly to the meeting. Myself and Councilman Righeimer, we were more inclined to say that, it was our view that it is consistent with the environs plan, but the majority of the commission determined that it was not consistent. We received the identical treatment that the city of Irvine did in their projects, Opus and several others up there. So we do have an option here, and that is the council can override the commission, make certain findings. And although we haven't been through this before, our community development director has, and so she will help us guide through that process and consider that item. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Henn.
I have no reports.
Councilman Selich.
I have none.
Councilman Hill.
No reports this evening.
Councilman Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry.
No reports.
And I have none. All right, public hearing. Item number 13, the vacation of an existing sewer easement.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members. Dave Webb, Public Works. Quick report on this tonight. This item tonight before you is asking to vacate a sewer going across a property at 205 Carnation and also 101 Bayside Place. This sewer is not needed by the city. The property is being consolidated and has a development that's already been approved on this, and the property is now served by a sewer that runs through Bayside Place. So we do not see a need for this vacation and would support the vacation of it.
All right. Any questions of staff?
I would move the item.
All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, please vote.
Prior to reading the vote, I'll read the resolution title, Resolution Number 2012-93, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Newport Beach ordering the vacation of existing sewer easement at 205 Carnation Avenue and 101 Bayside Place, and directing the city clerk to record the same with the county recorder's office. With that, the motion carries unanimously.
All right. On to current business, item 14, appointments to the Balboa Village Advisory Committee. It's my intention to appoint Mayor Pro Tem Curry to this as the council representative. And we had one, is that correct, one application for each position?
Yeah, minimum of one per each. But, Balboa Village bid had 2 applicants, Central Newport Beach Community Association had 2, and the at-large had 2, so we can conduct it by paper ballot.
All right. Is there any public comment on this?
Mayor Gardner and members of the council, I don't want to give him the kiss of death, but I would like to recommend that you vote for Howard Hall.
Do you want to say your name again?
My name is Jim Mosier. Howard is a very long time resident of the Balboa area, and I think he would bring more, as you call it, institutional knowledge to this group than any of the other candidates. And also, you may have a different opinion about that, but I believe Howard is not totally on board with the value of the revitalization program, and I think that diversity of opinion would be useful to represent all views in the city.
What is Howard's position on the charter amendment?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Is that all, Mr. Mosier?
Yes.
Is that all?
Yeah, and then I would also like to comment on the candidate number 5, which is Ralph Rodheim. And I've heard Ralph make very astute and helpful comments at many meetings that he has been at. Yet if you made this appointment, he would not be on just 1 or 2, but on 3 different boards and commissions, and I just think that's not quite right. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we need to make our votes first.
Yes, please. A minimum of 4 votes is required in order to be appointed. I will first do the votes for the Balboa Peninsula Point Homeowners Association. There is only 1 candidate, however, I'll continue to do the votes. Councilmember Rosansky, Gloria Oakes. Councilmember Hill, Gloria Oakes. Councilmember Selich, Gloria Oakes. Councilmember Daigle, Gloria Oakes. Councilmember Henn, Gloria Oakes. Mayor Pro Tem Curry, Gloria Oakes, and Nancy Gardner, Gloria Oakes. For Balboa Village bid, there are 2 nominees, Tristan Ritter and Ralph Rodheim. Councilmember Rosansky voted for Ralph Rodheim. Councilmember Hill voted for Ralph Rodheim. Councilmember Selich voted for Ralph Rodheim. Councilmember Daigle voted for Ralph Rodheim. Councilmember Henn, Ralph Rodheim. Mayor Pro Tem Curry, Ralph Rodheim. And Mayor Gardner, Ralph Rodheim. So Ralph Rodheim is appointed to the BVAC. For Central Newport Beach Community Association, there is either Laura Keene or Howard Hall. Councilmember Rosansky voted for Laura Keene. Councilmember Hill voted for Laura Keene. Councilmember Selich voted for Laura Keene. Councilmember Daigle voted for Laura Keene. Councilmember Henn voted for Laura Keene. Mayor Pro Tem Curry voted for Laura Keene. And Mayor Gardner voted for Laura Keene. So Laura Keene is appointed to BVAC. For Explore Ocean, there is only one applicant, Tom Pollock. Councilmember Rosansky voted for Mr. Pollock. So did Councilmember Hill, Councilmember Selich, Councilmember Daigle, Councilmember Henn, Mayor Pro Tem Curry, and Mayor Gardner. So Tom Pollock. And for at-large, there is either Howard Hall or Jim Stratton. Councilmember Rosansky voted for Jim Stratton. Councilmember Hill voted for Jim Stratton. Councilmember Selich voted for Jim Stratton. Councilmember Daigle voted for Jim Stratton. Councilmember Henn voted for Jim Stratton. Mayor Pro Tem Curry voted for Jim Stratton, and Mayor Gardner voted for Jim Stratton. So Jim Stratton is appointed to BVAC.
And do we need to have a vote on the waiver of the policy?
Yes, please.
All right, so may I have a motion to waive a portion of City Council Policy A2?
So moved. Second.
All right. Please, is there public comment? Please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, we don't have anything else. I have to confirm that. Okay. All right. Number 15 is the Crondell Lane Merge relocation item. City Manager, do you have something that you want?
Real briefly, Mayor Gardner, we did get a request from the Coronel bid that the council not act on this tonight. It is our recommendation that we make the presentation to you and allow any public that might be interested in commenting, as well as yourselves, to ask us any questions you might have. And then you can decide whether or not you want to act tonight. But I wanted to at least let you know that we had received that request, because some of their members wanted to weigh in on it and were out of town or were not able to.
Who was here for this item? Isn't this the one you're here for, Dick? Dick, are you prepared to come back in 2 weeks, or would you like to have your say tonight?
I'd be happy to make my say tonight.
All right, then we'll
back in 2 weeks.
And come well. One or the other. Would you be greatly?
I will not say that I won't be back in 2
No. I just think, would it be too inconvenient if we just continued this and dealt with it in 2 weeks? You would be able to come in 2 weeks and make your comments then if we did it that way.
Well, you're going to disassemble it, so the question is I think that's a good idea.
No, he doesn't.
No.
All right. What's the wish of the council? Councilman Daigle?
I did have a question. Is the removal of the pinch point being done by the same contractor to put the Shero in? And does this delay the installation of the Shero?
Our plan was to take out the temporary stripings and markings at the same time and then install the Sheros. It would be the same contractor and be efficient to do it at the same time.
Okay. Councilman Henn, did you have a comment?
Well, I'm happy to continue it for 2 weeks.
Is it going to delay the taking out of it?
Well, just to be clear, we believe, regardless of what you decide, we need to take that
Take it
down.
out, right? Okay.
So that could be, you could offer half of the action and at least authorize us to take that down on schedule, because even if it stays and comes back in if it comes back in a reconfigured formation, either way it's got to come down, because we promised OCTA basically we would take it down.
Okay, so you need
We have to
action
do
on
that
that now.
at least, right. But do you want to see the presentation now and have a discussion? Would you prefer, like most children, to push it off? Wait 2 weeks. All right. So then, do we have do you need a motion for us to do that? All right, a motion to remove the temporary.
Probably will need public comment either
Yes,
way.
I'll give it that. But
I would move that we reschedule this to November 13th
And remove the,
and direct staff to remove the temporary.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
All right, is there public comment on this?
Dick Nichols, Corona Del Mar. We're going to be opening up City Hall pretty quickly, it looks like, and this may overlap, and City Hall will have quite an effect on the traffic as well, and it'll all be negative. So the moving right now to get this out before you see the effect of City Hall on the changes that you've put in or modified, that would be worthwhile doing. So it might be worthwhile to try and get that opened up so you can see what it looks like with a few. We noticed traffic moving, long distances being in park. And we also noticed that the city did modify the streetlight system. So, that they are not operating at the same sequencing they were before. I will be happy to go on if you wish.
All right. Any other public comment? Then please vote.
The motion carries unanimously.
All right, so we will re-agendize this for 2 weeks. And now, motion for reconsideration?
A motion to reconsider the vote on any action taken by the City Council at either this meeting or the previous meeting may be made only by one of the council members who voted with the prevailing side.
Councilman Hill.
I would like to move the reconsideration of the approval of the minutes of the September 25 meeting.
Second motion.
And unfortunately, I do not have my copy with me, so I'm going from memory.
Well, you don't need that first in order to reconsider.
Oh, okay.
You just need to reconsider.
Oh, all right, so please vote. All right, is there public comment on this motion to reconsider? All right, please vote.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay.
On the topic of the Lido Village implementation plan, it was changed to a master plan, and in my initial motion, I moved that the RV parking be excluded, but the minutes show the exclusion of the
parking survey.
study.
Yes.
Parking survey. My motion was not the final motion because it was reconsidered, and I believe that Councilman Henn made the final motion, and Rosansky or Selage, one of the others, seconded, but it then continued to say remove the parking study instead of the RV parking. And so that needs to be corrected in 2 locations. My comments appeared twice. My paragraph of comments appeared twice in the minutes.
You do talk a lot.
I know. I've heard that before. I'd like to move reconsideration. Oh, no. And and then and I'm going by memory, guys. 21 A, B, and C was in disarray and needs to be just put in proper order.
Is this the one that Mr. Mosher referred to?
It is.
All right. Okay. So do we have any public comment on those changes?
Councilmember Hill, is that your motion to amend the minutes to make those changes?
That is.
Yes, Mr. Mosher.
Yes, Mayor Gardner and members of the council, my name is Jim Mosher, and I would like to thank Councilman Hill for reconsidering this and recommending that the page be put in order along with his other comments. Thank you very much.
All right, please vote.
I'm sorry, was there a second? Did I?
Second.
Thank you very much. Councilmember, sorry about that. With Councilmember Rosansky absent, the motion carries.
All right. And now we're going to adjourn in memory of George J. McGaffigan and Councilman Henn. I know he was a friend of yours.
Yes, he was. George J. McGaffigan passed away on Saturday, October 13th, 2012. He's survived by his devoted wife and business partner of 23 years, Maxine.
His son Thomas Haynes McGaffigan of Saratoga, California, granddaughter Megan Kelly McGaffigan, and grandson Owen Thomas McGaffigan, and sister Patricia Ann McGaffigan from Milwaukee, Oregon. George was born in Spokane and raised in Redwood City. He attended Our Lady of St. Carmel Grade School and ultimately Santa Clara University, where he received his B.S. degree. George enjoyed reading and traveling the world. Among his many interests, George was very passionate about running, and his dedicated training enabled him to qualify for and compete 6 Boston marathons, I think the last of which he was 70 years old for. Among his business achievements, George was a successful land developer representing major corporations throughout the county, and for the past 40 years, George was a prominent real estate broker in the Newport Beach area. George is preceded in death by his father and mother and by his daughter Nancy. If we're very lucky in our lives, we meet someone aside from our family with whom we have a special connection. The kind of connection where when you look into their eyes, you see past those eyes into the essence of the person and they you. I had a relationship with George like that. The threads that tied us had to do with running. George encouraged me to do a marathon and then made it clear to me that that wasn't enough unless I ran Boston. It's not real unless you run Boston. And the other thread was his true love and devotion to the city of Newport Beach here for 40 years. George was a absolutely unique fellow. He had sort of a Jesuit education that gave him the ability to speak straight from the shoulder and give you advice, often very good, sometimes not, but always offered with a constructive thought in mind to help you do better or be better. And I'm going to miss George a lot. And I know he's looking down from heaven right now because he was a great guy. And I wish Maxine, his spouse, all the best and that her pain heals soon. Thank you.
Thank you. This meeting is adjourned.